How about Gloria?
Good evening, everyone. Gloria Matera, one of the co-chairs of Green Party of the United States, tuning in from Brooklyn, New York.
Thanks, Gloria. And Lizzie?
Hi, Lizzie Adams from Florida in support of our Florida co-chairs, LeBeau Padnow and Robin Harris, who are on the call, and candidates. Yay.
Wonderful. Very honored to have them on the call. Robin?
Hi, Robin, Florida. I'm here with LeBeau and Lizzie.
Great. Great to hear state co-chairs on the call. And also, I just want to take this opportunity to plug that Robin is one of the amazing trainers that we will have at our annual national meeting coming up this July 15th through 18th. And so I encourage everyone to register at gp.org/ANM if you have not already. LeBeau.
Hello, my name is LeBeau Padnow, and I have the pleasure of the honor of serving as co-chair of the Green Party of Florida. I will be running for, I don't know the district number yet because we're redistricting, and Oof. I am very excited to be here. I am in what I like to call the shadow of Mar-a-Lago, aka Palm Beach County, Florida.
Thank you for that, LeBeau. Thank you for running. Blazin, would you like to introduce yourself at this point? Okay. How about Andrea, who just joined us?
Hi, I'm Andrea Wynn. I'm up here in Maine, just hanging out.
Wonderful. Thanks for joining us, Andrea. Sandy, we're just doing a go round of names and locations.
Sandy, First Black Buffalo, New York.
Thank you, Sandy, and had the honor of serving with Sandy on the Green Party of New York State Committee and Executive Committee, along with Gloria. I think that's everyone. Was there anyone who entered while we were doing introductions? Sarah? Oh, well, Sarah was first. The first shall be last. And the last shall be first. Sarah, please do introduce yourself.
No problem. My name is Sarah Dillon. I'm on the fundraising committee for the Green Party of the United States. I'm also a national, I just got reelected one of the 2 national committee delegates representing the Indiana Green Party.
Thank you, Sarah. And Holly, would you like to introduce yourself and maybe give a 30-second elevator pitch for the CCC?
Yeah. So my name is Holly Hart. I'm one of the co-chairs for the Coordinated Campaign Committee. This is a committee of up to 10 people, elected people who have had a special interest or some background with campaigns. And our role is to just support all green campaigns in all aspects. We have some tutorials, we have webinars like this covering various aspects of campaigns, which we hope are of use to candidates. We have a manual. We put on some campaign schools, including virtual campaign schools, and we have a number of webinars that you can check out on our page. Go to gp.org and check, or gpus.org, check on committees and check on Coordinated Campaign Committee, gpus.org, Coordinated Campaign Committee, and find all of our great stuff. And we'll be doing more. We're sponsoring 3 workshops coming up for this national meeting, and hope you will all be able to join us. And those of you who are, I'll just put in a pitch too. If you're running for office or you know someone in your state who are running for office, please send all the info you have to ccc@gp.org. Just ccc@gp.org, and we'll take it from there. But we want to keep up and keep track of anybody running, especially for 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. And I just want to thank everyone again for taking the time to join this evening and for being committed to grassroots fundraising for this grassroots party. And I want to introduce myself. My name is Michael O'Neill. My pronouns are he, him, his. I reside in Syracuse, New York, and I'm the communications manager for the Green Party of the United States. I came on board with the National Party Labor Day of 2019. So just in time for COVID and the election year and all the fun things we've been wrestling with as Greens. Prior to that, I worked as the assistant to the campaign manager for the Jill Stein Ajamu Baraka campaign in 2016. I have served on a number of statewide campaigns here in the state of New York. I was campaign manager for Howie Hawkins' gubernatorial run in 2018, and I also served on his 2010 and 2014 runs. My involvement with the Green Party as a volunteer goes back to about 2007. My involvement with the Green Party as a voter goes back to Ralph Nader in 2000, as with so many Greens. And I'm really excited to get to talk to you about something that I really did not have a lot of training in or experience in going into my Green Party work. It's something that I've had to exercise out of necessity, right? And I'm sure many of you have been in similar situations. Fundraising is not something that comes easily to me. I want you to hold that thought because I do want to just give a shout out to Blazin, who messaged in the chat. Blazin is joining us from Chesapeake, Virginia. Blazin's not able to speak over Zoom, but Blazin is one of the co-chairs of the Green Party of Virginia. So thank you, Blazin Bloom, for being here. Great to see another co-chair from another state on the line. So I think there are very few natural fundraisers, very, very few, maybe none. If you meet one, let me know. I think it is something that can be learned. It's a craft. And the title of this webinar is The Art and Science of Fundraising, but I kind of feel like the craft is more accurate because it's somewhere between an art and a science, but it is something that you can learn, and it's something that you get better at the more you do it and the longer that you do it. And so before we get into the content, this is a great time to practice our muting and unmuting. This is one of my favorite times of Zoom. And so we're going to, everyone, I want you to practice unmuting for when we get to the question and answer. And on the count of 3, I want you to unmute, which you can use with the little microphone in the lower left-hand corner of your Zoom screen. And on the count of 3, you're going to unmute and you're going to say, Michael, give me your money. All right. So we're going to get right off to the bat. We're going to exercise those fundraising muscles. All right. On the count of 3, you're going to unmute and say, Michael, give me your money. 1, 2, 3.
Michael, give me your money.
Music to my ears. Music to my ears. We're off to a great start. All right. So
laugh afterwards.
Yes. So now you've exercised your mute button, you've exercised your fundraising ask, and so please do keep yourself muted for the duration of the program. And if you have a question that arises for you that you don't want to forget, feel free to put it in chat, and that will go to me and the other co-host, and we can address those as when we get to the question and answer portion, and then we'll have some time for discussion and Q&A. And I do want to remind folks that CCC webinars are recorded and are hosted on the CCC web page at gpus.org. This session will be recorded and available as video on demand. So please do share it with your green comrades and your candidates and everyone else who you want to spread the passion for fundraising to. And also please take some time to dive deep into all of the amazing recorded sessions that the Coordinated Campaign Committee has put together over the months and years. So a bit more about me. I told you a little bit about my Green Party history. I'm not a born fundraiser. It's something that I've picked up both through just intense curiosity and trying to cobble together as many bits of fundraising lessons and disciplines as they're applicable to what we do as Greens, because we are, in so many ways, so many lovely ways, the Green Party is unique, and some might even say strange in a wonderful way. We don't raise money like typical political parties do and typical candidates do, because we're not after that corporate cash. We're not after that political action committee money, right? We're after grassroots dollars. But we don't raise money the way not-for-profits do, the way that 501c3 organizations do, because we don't qualify for grants from foundations and things like that. And we also don't qualify for all the kinds of subsidies and free software and goodies that not-for-profits get to use as well. So as a party that is of the grassroots, we use grassroots, small dollar, broad fundraising strategies, and we apply them within the campaign context to that kind of time crunch intensive arena of the campaign. And we're going to touch on where some of the tensions and can arise from that, and why it's best for the long term to think of yourself as cultivating donors and cultivating relationships as opposed to just cultivating donations. I will say that while I was not born a fundraiser, I was born into a Catholic family, and I went to Catholic school, which means I spent a lot of time selling candy bars door to door and doing all other kinds of fundraisers for like where I went to school and for my Boy Scout troop and for marching band and things like that. And so when I think about it, when I think about my personal history, I have done some fundraising from a very early age. It's just we don't maybe connect the walkathon that we did as a kid, or the any number of the fundraisers that schools and youth programs do to the work that we do now. But maybe if you look at your personal history, you might see some threads and some lessons that you can draw upon. And I also just want to say that a little bit about me. I've got a little bit of a dry sense of humor. And so I live with generalized anxiety disorder, and my dry sense of humor is one of the ways I cope with living in an amoral and broken universe. And so if you hear me say anything that makes you laugh, or maybe makes you arch an eyebrow, it's not because I take this material lightly. It's just part of my personality. But buckle up, and let's all enjoy the ride of this together. I think for this webinar, the most I can offer you and the most we can offer each other is an opportunity to learn how to learn about fundraising. Fundraising is a craft in the sense that it can be something that you study for a lifetime and that you put into practice for a lifetime, and maybe still only really scratch the surface of it. And so you want to make sure that you approach it from a long-term perspective of a muscle that you're going to develop. And that might not be super satisfying. If you're a candidate who's running for office right now and you're trying to raise money right now, there are things that you can put into practice quickly. But again, just giving you a preview of one of the central themes of this presentation, this is the art of fundraising. The craft of fundraising is about cultivating relationships, and specifically cultivating relationships with donors. So we are cultivating donors, not dollars. I think that it's best to just give you some like frameworks that like immediate takeaways. So if you have to leap off this webinar in 10 minutes from now, you'll have some, I think, important stepping stones to get you along your fundraising journey. And the first concept is that fundraising, as I mentioned a few times now, repetition is key to learning, right? So if I repeat myself, it's all for your benefit. It's about accumulating those relationships. It's not about accumulating money. You're after donors, you're not after dollars. The dollars will come when you have meaningful relationships with donors and when you are making meaningful asks to donors. It's interesting because a lot of the fundraising study that I've put in recent years has not actually been in a campaign context. It's been in the context of my state party or for the national party. And a lot of what we're going to talk about applies also to a campaign context where there's that time crunch. And I feel like Greens in many instances have a little bit of historic knowledge, institutional knowledge about how to raise money in a campaign context. It's actually when we're trying to raise the money that we need to operate successfully at our state party level, county party level, national party level, to have the kind of resources that we would like to make available to candidates and to recruit candidates and to manage volunteers and to wage issue campaigns, where we actually have a long way to go. And so that's why the state co-chairs who are on this call do have a special place in my heart. But candidates, I have plenty of love for you as well. And just keep in mind that a lot of fundraising advice, a lot of fundraising tactics, like many tactics, are context specific. The more time that you have, the more you want to invest in those relationships. And in the time crunch of a campaign, you might have to really dive into establishing that relationship between yourself as the candidate and the voter or the donor or the volunteer in that particular context. A key fact about fundraising that kind of seems absurd on the face of it, but it's really important to keep in mind, is givers give. Now, what do I mean by givers give? When you are seeking out donors to establish fundraising relationships with, you might ask, well, where do I find them? Who should I be going after? Who should I be targeting? Well, the research is clear that you will have the most success establishing relationships with donors who are already donors, who are donors to related organizations, who are donors to the Green Party, who have donated to recent Green candidates. People who give money, who have given money before, are much more likely to give money to you than someone who has never given money before. Do you want to be trying to bring in new people into relationship with your campaign, into your state party? Yes. But those people are going to be on their own journey. They're going to be going on what's called an engagement ladder, or some people call an engagement funnel, where their first step is going to be maybe signing up to your email list. And they might need to be on your email list for a few months before they even think about contributing $1 or $5 or $10. So especially in that time crunch of the campaign, you want to hone in as much as possible on people who you know to already be givers. It's a lot easier to get someone who's already giving to give to you than it is someone who has never given to anything before. That might seem counterintuitive because you might think, oh, well, someone's giving to maybe another organization, or they already gave to something, so they're like tapped out for the year. Generally, as human beings in the United States of America, we have a lot of anxieties about money, and we have a lot of anxieties about asking people for money. And a lot of the anxieties that people have about fundraising are actually anxieties about how our culture handles money and assumptions that we make about money. Most of the charitable giving in the United States and our society is done by people of, approximately median income means. The majority of the dollars given, it's not by the uber wealthy. Do those people have a kind of, in terms of like the ratio of the number of them to the amount that they give, have a disproportionate effect on the nonprofit industrial complex and on electoral politics? Of course they do. But in the sheer aggregate, a much larger portion of giving that goes on is done by people who are not rich or wealthy by any measure. And so people have a larger capacity to give than we might assume they do if we establish a genuine connection with them, and if they see giving to your state party or giving to your campaign as something that moves their interests along, that they think will be meaningful either because of the connection to you, the person who is asking them, or meaningful in terms of making a difference for something that they care about. So, like I said, givers give, so find people who are already giving. So you can, please do ask Greens who have already run in your district for their donor list, or even just a handful of recommendations, right? You can look at public records to see who has given to similar districts in your state or in your county, or if you're running for federal office. You can maybe seek out neighboring state parties or county organizations and see if they might be willing to do a swap. Your state party needs to be participating in list swaps with the national party. And so that we're getting contacts from you and that you're getting contacts from us that may not already be in your state database. And givers give because, number one, they were asked, and that's the key thing. There's an old saying that you can, I think this is the founder of Habitat for Humanity. He said, I've tried fundraising by asking, and I've tried fundraising by not asking, and I've always made more money by asking. So you don't get what you don't ask for. And the asking can be the part that we have a lot of anxiety about. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But the important thing is, like, you have to make the ask, and you need to connect with your prospective donor when you make that ask. But for a lot of people, like, it's as simple as that. I mean, when they do surveys and research about people, when they talk about why they gave or didn't give to an organization, frequently people will say, well, I would have given if they had just actually asked me. Maybe they got an email or maybe they got a piece of mail and it had everything in it except for an actual direct, explicit request for money, because that's the thing that we are frequently hesitant to do. And sometimes that's all that's needed if you've made your case for why what you're talking about is meaningful and could be meaningful to them. People give because they know or admire the person who asked them. Now, for candidates, this is really important because while in the description for this webinar, it talks about like email fundraising and online fundraising, the foundation of your donor base is going to be the people that you know, the people that you already have relationships with, the people that connect with you. They are the rock upon which you will build your cathedral. It is from the resources that you glean from the people who are already close to you, who already know you, who already trust you, that your campaign will get the capacity to then engage in effective outreach to people who maybe don't know you already. The more people who know you and the more people who admire you, then the more you'll have in that inner circle. And we'll touch a bit more on that later. People give because they think it will solve a problem that they care about. And so this is why it's important, if you're a candidate and also in your state party, that when you're making a pitch to a donor or a prospect or just in your general messaging, you need to show that you have a plan to win. People want to contribute to something that they think will win, that they honestly believe will win, and that it's important that they win. So your campaign, your state party strategy needs to have a theory of change. It needs to have a credible plan to win. People give because in many cases, it's for direct services. And in the nonprofit world, that might be a form of healthcare or something like that. In the politics world, they call that access donations, and we don't do that. So we don't trade access for donations, because that's the entire part of the founding philosophy of the Green Party, is that we're working to get private money out of politics as much as possible. While we have to rely on private money in our campaigns and in our party building, we do it through grassroots fundraising. But we're very clear in all of our messaging and in our relationships with our donors that we're asking you to give because you believe in our campaign, not because we're going to be beholden to you once we're elected in office. But that makes it all the more important that you rely on those other three reasons for why people give, that you're making clear asks, that you are positioning yourself as someone that people know and trust and possibly even admire, that you are positioning your campaign as something that can help solve problems that they care deeply about, either in their personal lives or in their communities or for their loved ones. As I mentioned before, your foundation is going to be the people who already know and admire you, because that is one of those core reasons why people give. That's going to be your personal list. If any of you have ever read anything about campaign management or fundraising in campaigns, the first thing is sit down with your pen and paper or your computer or your tablet or whatever, and make that list of everyone you know, everyone whose name and phone number and or email address that you can recall, that you can let them know that you're running for office, you are running to to change and transform your community, that you are trying to transform politics in this country, that you are fighting for a Green New Deal or reparations or ending the drug war or ending the wars abroad, or you are fighting against misogyny and white supremacy, whatever the core issues of your campaign and whichever of those core issues of your campaign will resonate with the person you're talking to, you've got to make that list and make that personal ask and dial it up. Online fundraising is amazing, and it has opened up amazing opportunities for grassroots fundraising and grassroots candidates. But I think there is a little bit of the Bernie Sanders syndrome where people think, oh, well, we'll just put up a web page and we'll send out email blasts and we'll get money. Well, are you a U.S. Senator? Do you belong to arguably the most powerful legislative body in the history of humankind? Have you been in that legislative body in upper or lower house for a decade or more? If you have, if that is you, that's great. I don't know why you're on this webinar, but you need to think about that. Like, look, if you're a household name within your community, within your city, within your district, great. Like, yes, you're going to leverage that. But that also means you still need to leverage those intimate personal contacts. And for a lot of people, those are actually the more difficult people to ask. I know a lot of Greens who are completely comfortable calling up a stranger from a list and asking them to give to a campaign rather than calling up someone that they actually know, someone that they have a personal relationship with. So what's that about? Where does that anxiety come from? As I mentioned before, we've got a lot of hangups about money in this screwed up capitalist culture. And the way that we are encouraged to not talk about money in a way that I think divides workers from each other and makes money kind of and wealth and income a taboo topic as a way of giving cover to the super elite and the 1%. So there's a lot there that we have to get over. I think also at a maybe more fundamental level, and this is important to know, and it goes back to what I mentioned earlier, is that fundraising, making that ask for money, looking someone in the eye and asking them to contribute their hard-earned dollars to your campaign or to your state party, it's difficult at first, and it's difficult for everyone. So the bad news is that it's going to be hard. The good news is that it's hard for everyone. And even the better news is that it gets easier over time and the more you do it. If you are someone who feels absolutely no anxiety or concern asking someone to contribute a significant amount of money to a campaign or to your Green Party, congratulations. You might be a sociopath, but I'm glad you're on our team. So that's great. And for the rest of us, for us mere mortals, it's something that we need to get over. But it's awkward. Another core concept is embrace the awkward. Lean into the awkward because it's the only way through. A lot of times, people who are new to fundraising, they'll try to come up with gimmicks to kind of get around the awkward. Like, oh, well, we'll sell bouquets of sunflowers, or we'll, kind of pursue these great ideas around fundraising. And those are distractions. That is your lizard brain trying to escape the awkward. For tens of thousands of years in the history of hominids, saying the wrong thing to a higher status primate might get you beaten to death or exiled. And there's a part of your brain that is still on the lookout for higher status primates who might, chew your face off or exile you for saying the wrong thing. And that's a part of your brain, a part of your DNA, your biology that helped you come into being, right? But that's a part of your brain that needs to get retired now, because the Michael O'Neill guarantee is that at the very least, if you follow the principles that we've talked about here in this training, you will not be beaten to death by a higher status primate or driven into exile. That much I can promise you. Everything else is up for grabs. Okay, so as I mentioned, you got to start with your personal list, and that can be difficult. But if you rely on your campaign plan, and I really hope that everyone who's running for office here has a well thought out, well planned, well written campaign plan, that you got a template from a credible source and you did your homework for your campaign plan so that you have a credible path to victory and you have a credible theory of change about your campaign, because that is what's going to get you through those conversations so that you can really look someone in the eye and have the confidence to say, I think together we can change this community. I think together we can help a lot of people and save some lives. To do that, I need your help. Will you give to my campaign? And in your campaign plan needs to include fundraising as a part of it. So when we're asking, we want to be bold and we want to be confident when we ask. It's just as important that we be receptive and we be gentle when we're listening to the answer. So ask like a lion, listen like a lamb. The philosophy around fundraising that works for me is when, as adults, asking other adults to support something that we think is important, that we believe they might also think is important, that we're gonna ask them freely, and they are free to answer however way that they want and that they need to. And so if they say no, then graciously accept no. Accept it with, be gracious and be grateful that they listened to you, that they heard you out. And if you try to guilt them or you try to manipulate them from a no into a yes, you might get a few dollars out of them, but you might have burned that relationship. And if that's a pre-existing relationship, now you're talking about consequences that go beyond just your campaign, right? You also, in the context of your campaign or your state party, need to think of it in terms of, okay, well, maybe they gave you $20 to just end the conversation and get you out of their hair, but are they ever going to give to your organization again? Are they ever going to give to a Green Party candidate again? No, right? So for many reasons, both moral and ethical and just as being decent human beings, we want to receive the answer that we get with graciousness and gratitude and with grace. There's also a strategic reason to receive it in that way as well, because the person who says no today might say yes a week from now or a month from now or a year from now. And as disciplined as we need to be about embracing the awkward and being bold about asking, we have to be just as disciplined in listening to the answer with an open heart and accepting that and accepting people where they are. There's a saying in fundraising that I think is useful, which is ask, thank, then ask again. And this actually touches a little bit back on that theme I was just talking about, where after the ask, right, I've just touched on what happens if they say no. What if they say yes? Oh, my Lord. Wow. Okay. Well, number one, you need to have your fundraising apparatus in order so that you can actually legally and accurately process their donation. This has not really been envisioned as a super tech-heavy presentation, but we can answer some tech questions later on. But you want to make sure that you have that clipboard at the ready, or you have that donation link at the ready, that giving is as easy as possible for your donor, and that they can be confident that this transaction is going to be safe for them and that it's going to be easy for them. And then you need to be just as disciplined about thanking them as you did about asking them in the first place. You need to be systematic and disciplined about thanking as much as you are systematic and disciplined about asking. So ask, thank, ask again, right? And this pushes up against those internal limiting beliefs that we might have about fundraising, like, oh, well, that person already gave, to my campaign. I don't want to go back to them. Well, you don't want to go back to them 5 minutes later, right? And you definitely don't want to go back to them before they've been properly thanked for what they gave. But our tendency, our calibration as people in this weird society is that we underestimate how much and how often a given person is in a position to give, and how much they might give if we ask them, and if we make that credible ask, and if we are building a relationship with them. While there's the adage that you ask, thank, and ask again, the other adage is that donors are not ATMs. We don't just go to them over and over mechanically, robotically, right? They need to be witnessing over the course of your campaign, over the course of the work of your state party, that their contributions are making a difference. They need to be thanked. They also need to be receiving information and updates from your state party, from your county organization, from your campaign about how you've been putting their contributions to work, telling them the story of how you've been putting their money to work. And that satisfies that donor need we talked about earlier, where people contribute, one, because they were asked, but two, because they believe that they're contributing to an organization or a campaign that is going to help the world or fix a problem in a way that they can't do just by their own self as an individual. But they need to see that from you. They need to hear that from you. Thank before you bank is another adage. It just gets back to that critical importance of thanking your donor. That you remember, it's the relationship, right? The money that you receive, that's like the middle of the transaction. That's the middle of the story. That's not the end of the story when they cut you a check or they click on your donate button. There's still a whole like second or third act there in terms of your relationship with that donor or with that group of donors. And that's a relationship that's going to cycle over and over. And because, as we said, we know that givers give, and givers tend to keep giving, and it's easier to retain your givers than it is to bring in new givers. You need to be bringing in new people who can one day become givers, and typically you will only retain about 75% of your givers from year to year. But it's still a heck of a lot more efficient to cultivate and nurture that existing giver base than prospecting. Prospecting is necessary, but prospecting is also way less efficient than paying attention and making the most of the relationships with your existing donors. I feel obligated to talk about that you need to know what the law is regarding how people can give to your campaign. You have to make sure that whether it's the state that you're running in or if it's for federal office, you need to know what you need to keep track of as a candidate or as a state party, what you need to report. It would be pretty damaging to the relationship that you've worked so hard to cultivate with your donor to have to send them a letter saying, we misreported your campaign contribution, or you gave something to us that actually wasn't legal for us to run under campaign law, and so we're refunding your money back to you, and sorry we did this, and it makes you look like you don't know what you're doing, and that is really going to damage your credibility the next time you ask them for a contribution. I know of a local green organization that ran a 50-50 raffle at a fundraiser that they had. Who knows how a 50-50 raffle works? Go ahead and unmute and say your name if you can describe how a 50-50 raffle works. Anyone?
I think I know, because
I know.
they run it at the Red Sox. People buy into the raffle, and half the prize goes to the person who wins, and the rest of the money goes to your charity or your whatever the campaign is. Or I didn't think is that legal to do on a campaign, run a gambling thing? I know it's legal for charities.
Not in the state of New York, and probably not in other states, and probably not under federal election law either. And now you can do a raffle. And I'll give a quick example of the difference between a legal raffle and an illegal 50-50 raffle, as Andrea just very helpfully described. So the thing about a 50-50 raffle is you can buy as many tickets as you want as a participant in the raffle and increase your chances of winning. That's what makes it, at least in the election districts that I have participated in and have done party building work in, that's what makes it gambling in the sense of it's not allowed, right? Whereas if you had a raffle that people got a ticket for as part of their contribution to enter the event, right? So let's say Craig is having a campaign fundraiser, and it's a donation contribution amount to get in. And as part of getting in, you get a drink ticket, and you also get a ticket for a raffle that will be held later in the night. Now, you only get one ticket for entry. You can't pay extra and get more tickets and increase your chances for winning. So that's kind of a relatively subtle difference, but it is a bright, clear difference in the law, at least in this case of Greens that I'm thinking of. And they had this great, fantastic local fundraiser. Everyone had a great time. Everyone felt really good about it. And then afterwards, they found out that the 50-50 raffle that they ran was illegal. And they had to contact everyone who bought tickets and refund all of their money. And it was a huge waste of time. They didn't feel good about it. It didn't look that great to the people who came and supported them. And you talk about doing that in the context of a campaign, that's a huge time waster. And as everyone knows, time is your most precious resource during an electoral campaign. Theoretically, you can always raise more money. You can always get more volunteers and more people, but you will never have more time in a campaign. So know the law. Make sure that you have a treasurer or that your campaign manager knows what the applicable laws are for what you have to record, what you have to report, and the ways that you can collect money that work within the district or jurisdiction that you are running in. And one last little adage is, and this gets back to establishing those relationships. What do you want people to know? What do you want people to feel? And what do you want people to do? That's the journey that people are going to be on. And this gets back to that engagement ladder or engagement funnel, as it's called in some circles, where it's very rare, it's not impossible, but it's very rare that someone is just going to see your name on a lawn sign and immediately want to give you $200, right? It's more likely they're going to see your name on a lawn sign and see that you're running for office, and then they're going to go to your website and or maybe call someone or talk to someone about you and learn about what you're about as a party or as a candidate. And that's going to make them feel something. Maybe they feel hopeful that someone who is not bought and paid for by the corporations has thrown their hat into the ring for local office. Maybe they feel inspired that someone's actually talking about the climate emergency in real terms and talking about climate solutions in terms of an eco-socialist Green New Deal in real terms, right? Then the thing is, well, what do you want them to do? Well, you want them to volunteer. You want them to give. And so you have to be laying out those signposts, those communication posts, those breadcrumbs for them at every step of the way. And thinking about it and making sure that your campaign plan and your messaging plan addresses what do you want people to know about your state party, your county party, your campaign. What do you want people to feel about those things, about the work that you're doing, about the work that you've done as a member of the community, about your campaign, about your platform? And then what do you want them to do? Is it most important at this time that people are phone banking for you? Is it most important that they are canvassing for you? Is it critical that they contribute because you've got a campaign finance reporting deadline coming up and you want to make a strong showing to the press and to the local political power structure that you're a campaign that has serious backing from the community? Those are important elements, not just of your fundraising plan, but of your campaign plan. Before we open it up to Q&A, I want to just briefly go over a few more resources because, again, this is about a learning how to learn journey. Fundraising is a craft. It's a lifelong craft. It's one that I feel like I've only scratched the surface of, but I'm trying to give you some frameworks that I've found to be really foundational and formative for me that then will help shape some of the specific tactics and strategies that you choose in your particular state party or in your campaign. Nation Builder. If you are using Nation Builder for your campaign or for your Green Party organization, then I strongly encourage you to make use of the Nation Builder courses that are on the Nation Builder website. They have an entire course dedicated to fundraising, and it has important foundational fundraising principles talking about relationship building, a lot of the stuff that I've been covering, but it also covers those in a way that tie into the specific tools and technology that Nation Builder offers as a product. And being able to make those conceptual connections to the actual tool that you're working with is really important. So I found them to be pretty knowledgeable and helpful. Make sure you are checking out Nation Builder courses and also webinars. Nation Builder has actually been releasing some new features I've noticed in the last few months, and so make sure you're keeping on top of that. Also, I want to bring your attention to Nonprofit Quarterly. Their website is the new home of the Grassroots Fundraising Journal. The Grassroots Fundraising Journal was started by Kim Klein and the Grassroots Fundraising Institute. Kim Klein is a little bit of a fundraising hero of mine in that she wrote a book called Fundraising for Social Change that focuses on, again, grassroots fundraising. It's the closest thing that I've found in the wild to the kind of fundraising philosophy that is useful to us as Greens, that we don't qualify for foundation money. We're not 501c3s. We also, as a political party, don't go after the usual, corporate cash and PACs and super PACs and dark money and that kind of thing. But her philosophy and the Grassroots Fundraising Institute is all about those, small dollar contributions from a lot of everyday people. And it is targeted mostly to nonprofits, but I think there's a lot in there that's helpful for us. And it's been really formative to my thinking around this work. So unfortunately, the Grassroots Fundraising Institute closed during COVID, but the archives of their journal are hosted at Nonprofit Quarterly, so you can check that out. There are some nonpartisan resources on campaign planning and fundraising hosted by the National Democratic Institute. That's an international organization. It's not referring to the Democratic Party. It's NDI is basically they supposedly try to foster the growth of multi-party democracy in different countries. Maybe they're backed by the CIA. I don't know, but at least on the surface of it, they have some useful kind of best practices and manuals for growing parties and parties that are in nascent democracies. The National Organizing Institute also has a campaign manual that I think is useful and has some useful elements on fundraising. There is an ebook available called Politics the Wellstone Way. It's from the Wellstone Institute. If you're familiar with Paul Wellstone, who is a kind of liberal lion from the state of Minnesota, who passed sometime, I want to say, in the either early 2000s or late 90s. So that PDF is available. It's sometimes under the title Winning Elections the Wellstone Way or Winning the Wellstone Way. And then I think there's a more recent version called Politics the Wellstone Way. And again, it's all about campaign management, from fundraising to messaging to all that good stuff. Your own Green Party is a resource that you need to ask about. Are there Greens in your state or your county or people who run for office who have books on campaigning and books on fundraising sitting around? Maybe there's a little bit of a lending library that can be put together. Maybe they have ebooks that are available for sharing. And I have an opportunity for you to join with an even broader network of fundraising Greens at the end of this webinar. That's what we're going to talk about now, which is I invite everyone on this webinar, and if you're listening after the fact, to join a online group of Green Party fundraisers, a peer support network of Green Party fundraisers. And we're going to engage in a little bit of grassroots democracy on this call. We can, and this is a great moment for you that are here right now, is you can choose, do you want this to be a Facebook group or a non-Facebook group? You get to say. We'll do a show of hands, but I've got both groups already set up. So I'll have an invite link that I can share with you over chat before we leave here, and we can continue learning how to learn about fundraising and learning fundraising and practicing fundraising and letting each other know what's working, where are we running into questions, where are we running into speed bumps, and sharing knowledge and sharing best practices and what we've seen to work with each other within our campaigns, our state parties, our county organizations, our caucuses, and building a real culture of thriving fundraising here in the Green Party. So let's open up for discussion, and then we can do that vote before we close out the call for which invite link I should send to all of you and through the chat, and also we can send to the people who RSVP'd for this webinar. Holly, if I can check in with you real quick, how long do these webinars usually go, and how much, which is another way of asking how much time should we allocate here for question and answer and discussion?
They can run usually a little after an hour to an hour and a half. Some of them go longer, but I think it's almost about what, 5 minutes till 9, 10 minutes till 9, or Eastern time. So it's getting a little late Eastern time, but I would say, at least 20 more minutes would be fine, or to 10:30 Eastern. I think they generally don't go longer than that.
Great.
And of course,
okay.
Yeah.
Great. So I see that Robin has a hand up. And so, Robin, I want to give you a chance to contribute. First, though, it has been brought to my attention that we had some people who joined us after we started. And so we should just give them a chance to introduce themselves. So if you could just say your name and where you are joining us from. And we'll start with Craig.
Hey everyone, I'm Craig Cayetano, former Green Party of New Jersey co-chair, now comms chair, running again for town council in Hawthorne, New Jersey.
Thank you, Craig. Rita?
I'm Rita Jacobs from the Green Party of Michigan.
Thanks, Rita. And Hillary?
Hi, all. Sorry I was late. Hillary Kane from the Coordinated Campaign Committee and the Green Party of Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Hillary. Justin?
Hi, I'm Justin Richardson. I'm the treasurer for the Green Party of California.
Thank you, treasurers. The great unsung heroes. For every great candidate, we need a great treasurer, at least one great treasurer. Thank you for your service, Justin. Tina.
Hi, I'm Tina Olson from Pennsylvania. I'm a co-chair and running for governor in 2022, Pennsylvania.
Fantastic. All right. Was there anyone that I missed who joined after we did initial introductions? Looks like no. Okay. All right, Robin.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
So yeah, thank you for your information and time. So I was just wondering, our race, my race, and LeBeau's, it's 22, but who would we go to for like the national donor list? Because I know that when I ran before, it was very tedious to access it and for it to be sent. So how do we go?
Off the top of my head, I think the straightest path would be for the Green Party of Florida to do a list swap with the National Party. And I'm thrilled to work with the Green Party of Florida on that. And then once it's in the hands of your state party, then you can make use of that. Now, that would be a swap of Florida contacts for Florida contacts. In terms of if you're seeking, so was that what you were asking about? Was for like Florida contacts who are in the hands of the national party, or were you actually thinking about nationwide outreach through the national party's
Yeah.
entire database?
I mean, yeah, nationwide if possible. Is that possible, or is that not what you are supposed to do?
I think that would go through the coordinated campaign committee, and that's kind of the mission of the coordinated campaign committee, is to develop strategies on how the national party can coordinate with candidates running for state and local and federal office, and how best the national party resources can be distributed among those different candidates. So maybe we could leave some time for Holly and or Hillary to discuss that at the end.
Thank you.
Of course. So any other questions about some of the concepts that we went over, or particular aspects of fundraising, or particular tools, whether it's like email subject lines or getting back to that sense of like who your donors are? Gloria.
Yeah, actually 2 questions if that's okay, but if there are other people, no worries. But so one is the phone calls, the ask on the phone calls, which, you know, obviously, I'm thinking that for most of us, that's the hard one to do. You talked a little bit about that too. And so I don't know if you have any more like particular tips. Maybe when this group starts, there's going to be some sample scripts. Obviously, they will be kind of tailored to what you're calling for, but I've done it so many times for myself, for other candidates, for my party, but there's always this little like knot in my stomach when I'm getting started to do that. And you know, just even tips for people to, you know, kind of feel relaxed or just doing that. I know you've also done some of that too, Michael. My other question is totally different, but it, you know, something I've also been trying to work on in email blasts that I'm involved in, which is the subject line. Green Party subject lines tend to be so long. They're almost like tell you the first sentence of what's in your email. And I've been very, you know, sometimes I get on these Democratic Party candidate lists, or I don't know why, or grassroots organizations for fundraising. And often they're like very succinct, sometimes even provocative. And so I've been trying to experiment with that a little bit and wondered, you know, what your thoughts were. You do some good ones for this national party, of course.
Sure. To your first question regarding dialing for dollars, as they say. So the bad news is that, yes, it is challenging. It's difficult and awkward for a lot of people. It's just like you're going to have that knot, right? So some of it is about knowing yourself and knowing like what are the coping skills that you use, or the pre-coping skills that you use when you know that you have a difficult task ahead of you, whether that's putting on some music that you like in the background at a reasonable level, or having a mug of cocoa, or whatever, you know, having your pet nearby to pet and keep you company. The good news is that like it's human, you know, and it is something that gets better over time. And you also can set yourself up for success by making sure that you have a solid script, that you are confident in what you are asking for and why you're asking for it, that you know what you want them to know, what you want them to feel, and what you want them to do, that you are drawing from a phone banking script. There are many phone banking scripts that are available online. I'm happy to share phone banking scripts as you know, part of the peer group that we'll invite folks to at the end of the call. And also, I mean, I'm sure there's a number of CCC trainings that have already been done about phone banking that have downloads available about you know, how to write a phone banking script. So pick one in terms of pick a template, and just like give yourself up to the process and focus on the process, right? Focus on the process and release the result. Just commit to trying to execute that script as best you can, because that's the only thing you have control over, right? You don't have control over whether they pick up the phone. You don't have control over whether it's even a good phone number or not. The only thing you have control over is you being present and using the tools that you have available to connect with that donor, or possibly more likely their voicemail, and try to establish or kindle that relationship and go from there. And yes, I do have some phone banking materials about like how to plan your phone bank and how to allocate time for your phone bank and things like that, that people can dig into. And then the other question you had about email subject lines, something I've been playing around with is brackets. So like using the square bracket around something that like is like update or action alert. That's something that can kind of get people's attention. You're right that shorter is better. There are a couple different resources online for like evaluating your subject line. Questions are good. If you know how to personalize the subject line using your email blaster, that's helpful. So using a first name, and lean into the corny, like the really annoying subject lines or that strike me as annoying. I don't want to use them myself, but I know in my heart of hearts that the reason people use those annoying subject lines is because they do engage people. So some of it is about getting over your pride. And also, and this is really important, is A/B testing. So the best subject line is the one that people open. So if you can send to a portion of your list and see which of two subject lines gets more opens and gets more engagement, then you will kind of get a trail of breadcrumbs over time over which way to lean, which way works for your audience and the messaging that you're doing. One shortcoming of Nation Builder that I'm still wrestling with is that I just don't have a lot of confidence in their A/B testing system, because they just like use the Nation Builder list to carve out a portion, and I'm not clear on how randomized that is or not. Like, is it just the most recent people who are in that chunk? I don't know. And so that's something maybe I should talk to tech support about. MailChimp and other places, I think, have more sophisticated A/B testing. LeBeau, you've been waiting very patiently.
I'm also going to try and shoehorn two questions in. If you can't answer them both, I understand.
Sure.
First of all, we've talked about phone banking and emails, but I know, working with Rose, that your campaign in 2020 did a lot of text banking. And I want an opinion on, is that a cop-out or does that work? And secondly, I know that National, over the last at least 4 years, has moved from Nation Builder to CVCRM. And I am seriously considering CVCRM instead of Nation Builder. I want to know if you have any opinions. Thank you.
Sure. I'm going to take that in reverse order. The Green Party of the United States is on Nation Builder. It is solidly on Nation Builder. There are no plans to migrate the Green Party of the United States fundraising or constituent relationship manager infrastructure away from Nation Builder to CiviCRM or anything else. So as speaking as the communications manager, and
I stand corrected. I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And so now the presidential nominee for this year, the Hawkins Walker campaign, they used CiviCRM for their presidential campaign, and their campaign team would be in a much better position to speak about their experiences with that system. My personal assessment is that for the money, Nation Builder it presents the best value, especially for a campaign where you need to get up and running quickly, and also where it more likely than not, this is going to be a time-bounded website, a time-bounded database. The ability to kind of set up quickly and close down shop quickly with Nation Builder is, to my understanding, it's a lot easier and a lot more cost-effective than getting a CiviCRM installation up and running and having the hosting for that. the software for running CiviCRM, the software of CiviCRM is free. It takes serious labor, high skilled labor and time to configure CiviCRM for your campaign, and it takes significant hosting resources to adequately host CiviCRM. It is a beast of a database. And so you're going to pay for your database one way or the other, either through Nation Builder or another fully hosted system, or if you go with an open source option, you're going to pay in terms of configuration and in hosting. And as a long-term strategy, the National Party moving to software and code that it owns, I think, is a great goal. We need a credible plan for how we're going to get there and be very clear-eyed about what the resources would take to do that. I hope that's helpful.
That is very helpful. I appreciate that. And then if you want to talk about SMS, you have time.
Great. Thank you, LeBeau. Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Can I ask you to consider the SMS question also? Is SMS
yes. Yeah,
a
go for
cop-out,
it.
or is it actually more effective or as effective as either email or phone?
Right. Text banking. Yes, text banking has been effective. I would not consider it a cop-out. I would like you to think about text banking for fundraising as something you do with people that your campaign has established some relationship with already. So they're already on your email list. Maybe they've been to events. You've maybe even spoken to them either over the phone or what have you. But text banking is really great in terms of putting a call to action right in front of someone. Now, because you are putting it right in front of them, you're making their phone ding or what have you. There's a kind of a cost to that. There's like an intimacy cost to that. So you want to make sure you're not jumping into their phone and blowing up their phone prematurely before you've established that like kind of relationship or that that karma or credibility with them as a candidate, and that you're not maxing that out too much. So think of text banking as something that you might want to leverage after people are kind of making their way up, or like after maybe the first stage of the engagement ladder, and think about actually maybe establishing that text banking relationship first with an easier ask. Maybe the first text that they get from your campaign is to volunteer for something or to share a video, something that gets them to commit psychologically, but you're not actually asking them for money yet. And then the people who do that, if you're able to track those results, the people who do that, they're going to be more likely to be ready to contribute if you then later on send them an ask for a financial contribution. I would also say that text banking is not a replacement for those people in your inner circle of your personal contacts, and also for the people that you want to make what could be called a major gift request of, or a strategic gift request. The bigger the gift, the more intimate the setting that you want to have as practicality allows. If you're going to be asking someone for $1,000 to contribute to your campaign, you want to be in person for that. Or if it's like if you can't get an appointment with them in person, then on the phone or over Zoom. Maybe for those initial small dollar requests where you're getting people up the engagement ladder, that would be helpful over text.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions or offerings? Resources that you find helpful, books, websites, software, tools. Holly?
Yeah. So you mentioned a lot of really good resources and a lot of different programs and stuff. And I know you're going to set up a list or a Facebook or something. So these will all be available there. They weren't in the chat, but because sometimes that you can save that. But will you have these available? It can be sent out to people who may want them.
Absolutely, yeah. We can put together a document that can accompany the video on demand file for this, and we can send that to registrants and have it available on the CCC archive for that stuff that's freely available on the web. Great. All right, we ready to pick how we're going to continue this journey together? So is there anyone here who doesn't know how to do a virtual hand raise in Zoom? And I don't mean just like raising your hand on camera, but raising your hand in Zoom. Or let me do it this way. Can everyone try raising your virtual hand in Zoom right now? It's going to be under the reactions button. And there's in the reactions button pop-up window, there's a raise hand feature. So if everyone can raise their hand, let me know that you can do that if you're at your computer. If you're joining over the phone, I believe it's *6 or *9 to raise your hand. I always get that confused. Justin, do you need help finding your hand raise function? Justin, are you there?
Hi, sorry, I'm just in transit and I might not be able to participate in this.
No problem. Okay, we'll be all right. Okay, so we're going to ask everyone to lower hands. So everybody lower your hands now. I'm going to help you lower your hands. Okay, great. Great job, everyone. Okay, so first option is, would you like this bold, experimental, peer-to-peer fundraising group to be hosted on Facebook as a Facebook group, a private Facebook group? So this will be a invite-only private Facebook group where people can commiserate and share resources and ask questions as a Green Party fundraiser network. Raise your hand. Well, actually, so the other option is called groups.io, and we'll be using a free version of groups.io. It's an independent discussion board system. It allows you to either participate as an email discussion list or as an online bulletin board. So you can go to the website and navigate discussion threads like an old-fashioned online bulletin board system, or you can do it through your email as a discussion list, or you can do a combination of both. So there's the two options at this point to start this off: Facebook group that's private, or a private email listserv / online discussion board on the service groups.io. So if you would like this to start as a Facebook group, raise your hand in Zoom. So I'm going to give a full 60 seconds more on this. Feel free to think of the Jeopardy song in your head. I'm not going to sing it here because I don't want to get us hit by a copyright fine. I don't want the ghost of Alex Trebek to be haunting my dreams, seeking royalty payments. So we're coming up on about 30 seconds left. Only got a few hands up. I think some people are pretty tired of Facebook groups, and I understand. That's why I wanted to give people the option to discuss this, but I'm not lobbying you either way. I don't want to have my thumb on the scale. But we got 17 seconds left. Last chance, if you want to indicate that you want this peer-to-peer fundraising network to start as a private Facebook group. All right, Voting is closed. We have 2 people in favor of a closed Facebook group. Thank you for voting. All right. If you want to try this out on groups.io as a discussion list / online messaging board, please raise your hand in Zoom now. Okay, I see hands going up. All right. This is democracy in action. Okay, so right now I am going to message into the group the page where you can join this this magical place of learning and development. Let me just make sure it's available to folks who are not already logged in. Yes, great. Okay, so I'm pasting into the Zoom chat now. So it's called GP Fundraisers, and it's available at groups.io/G/GP Fundraisers. And this is using the free version of groups.io. You can, there's a button for you to join the group. And we're also going to be using groups.io, a different group on a paid tier for the annual national meeting, again, coming up July 15th through 18th. And so this will be a great chance for you to test out groups.io and develop your groups.io muscles in advance of that. And I really appreciate your interest in this. And I think we have the opportunity to develop a kind of a shared online library that will be really helpful to people and as we build a fundraising culture here. So any questions about that group or anything else that we've talked about?
I don't know. For some reason, I'm already a member of or something. I don't know why that is.
You're already a member?
Of something. It says I tried to join and it says I must be an IO group's member of something.
Okay. Okay.
I'll just sort that out.
All right. Fair enough. I see that Robin has already joined. Craig has joined. LeBeau has joined. Blazin has joined. Lizzie has joined. So we've got people in the group already. So thank you for that. And feel free to email me, meo@gp.org, if you have any questions or troubles joining that group, and or any questions about this evening. Like I said, the freely available resources that I mentioned earlier, I will compile into one document and make that available to accompany the video on demand for this webinar. And I want to thank all of you and thank the CCC for having me to talk about this topic. And I think this is a critical piece of party building that is frequently overlooked. And I just really appreciate your dedication to this aspect of building a party that is economically independent of the 1% so that we can be politically independent of the 1%. A party that's funded by the people is a party that truly belongs to the people. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, everyone.
Great job. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Very nice. See you online. Thank you.
Okay.
This was recorded and we'll get it on the CCC webinar site.
Yep, I'm going to stop the recording now.